Okay, we're going to get Gerald Celente on now for the balance of the hour. And I'm just going to go through news with him and get his take on all of it. But when I called to get him on today, and I appreciate him coming on short notice, I did it because he's always getting really exercised and upset, and should be, about the IRS grabbing people's bank accounts because they make small cash deposits. That's not illegal. Or because they take cash out. The war on cash. I mean, we've had the government to harass us when we go to Bilderberg and stuff, cancel our rent cars, cancel my credit cards. I'll take secret cards I open up right before just so I have them. I give thousands of dollars to each crew member because that's what they need just to get around and pay their bills. And you go to the bank and I go, yeah, I need $12,000 out. And they'll go, excuse me? And I go, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars of payroll going through your bank every few weeks. You're acting like I'm bad wanting $12,000? They get a bank manager over and, what's this for, Mr. Jones? I go, we got to fill out a report. Fill out your suspicious person's report. I'm not going to tell you what cash is. I pay the fake IRS tax. I jump through all the hoops. This is how they persecute people. The Tea Party, gun owners, you name it. We have to break the IRS and abolish them, not grovel to them. And the know your customer garbage that George Herbert Walker Bush got through, where they surveil every purchase you make. The government does without warrants. And that's back in the news today. So I wanted to get Gerald Celente on about that. Also, feds urge banks to call cops on customers who withdraw $5,000 or more. This is on Infowars.com, Infowars.com story by Paul Joseph Watson, also on DrudgeReport.com. The Justice Department is ordering bank employees to consider calling the cops on customers who withdraw $5,000 or more. So now it's not even a fake know your customer. It's just call the cops. A chilling example of how the war on cash is intensifying. Banks are already required to file suspicious activity reports on their customers with threats of fines and even jail time for directors if financial institutions don't meet quotas. But as investor and financial blogger Simon Black points out last week, a, quote, senior official from the Justice Department spoke to a group of bankers about the need for them to rat out their customers to the police for stuff that's not illegal. But then they misapply and claim, well, I as an agent believe it's money laundering. So then they indict you off of their belief. Well, I believe you're Santa Claus. Doesn't mean it's true. Assistant Attorney General Leslie Caldwell gave a speech in which she urged banks to, quote, alert law enforcement authorities about the problem so the police can seize the funds. See, because cops will say under federal asset forfeiture, $1,000 is something they're going to seize because they can test the money and find drugs on it. Almost all money has drugs on it, or at least initiate an investigation. So rat them out so we can bank rob them on the road when they leave. Well, when I saw these stories in the New York Times and up on Infowars.com, feds urged banks to call cops on customers who withdraw $5,000 or more. I had to get Gerald Celente on. And they tell the cops, we're going to call you so you can pull them over and seize the cash when they leave, and it's your money. But they say, oh, under asset forfeiture seizure, it doesn't need to be illegal. And then almost all money has trace drugs on it, so that's their argument. And they're seizing old ladies' restaurants, you name it. That's in the New York Times. They had hearings on it last month, but they're not stopping. I want to thank the crew, by the way, for doing a great job. Cut to them in the TV studio. If you're radio listeners, you can go to Infowars.com/show, and you can see the crew in there doing a great job. But I wanted to get Gerald Celente on about this and just the whole waterfront of what's going on, because I've been doing this 23 years, 20 years on air. I was a guest on other shows and things 22 years ago, but I've been on air with my own show for 22 years. We're now seeing more tyranny in a week than I would see in 6 months previous. I mean, the power grabbing over the internet and over the borders imploding and global treaties that no one's allowed to see, and just all of it. Police in Wisconsin to take DNA forcibly from anyone with a misdemeanor. Stories about police with the CIA now grabbing your data without warrants. I mean, this is all mainstream news. Gerald Celente, what in the world is going on? What are the elites doing? Because it's not just happening here, it's happening all over the world. And I know your pet peeve is this war on cash. They want us cashless so they can put global taxes, currency taxes, money transfer taxes, and track everything we do. They want to illegally surveil us. I guess now putting your blinds down will be illegal. I mean, it is not illegal to get cash. What is going on? I know you've really written about this and talked about this. Internal capital controls.
Well, on the money end, I wrote back in 2009 when things were really shaky. I tried taking money out of a key bank over here. We did a story in the TrendsJournal about how they harassed me and had me sign all these papers. And I had to put up a fuss to get my money. And then back in, as a matter of fact, I even did it on your show. A few years later, it happened to me again at HSBC. Oh, it was an ugly picture. I threatened to call the police. They would not give me my money. And it was well over $5,000. And they kept asking me what I was going to use the money for. And I kept saying, none of your business. Who do you think you are? You didn't ask me where I got the money from when I put it in your bank. How dare you ask me? This went on for almost a day. Then you start adding up the pieces. 2011, Halloween night, the perfect time for the clowns to pull a dirty trick. John the Slime Corzine, everybody's Democratic lovely boy from Jersey, former head of the Goldman Sachs gang, a low-life piece of garbage who gets a free ride for bringing down MF Global. Remember, I had my money with them, and I couldn't get it out. And then they ended up taking a good, not a huge part, but a piece of it, and it only took me a couple of years to get it back. And I told the story of what happened on 9/11. When I saw the trade towers coming down, the first thing I did, I picked up the phone. I had money in Fleet Bank, certificates of deposit. In those days, Alex, they used to have a thing called interest rates where you could make money on them. So I had our company's money in CDs up in Fleet Bank up in Boston. I said, oh, this is Mr. Celente. I'd like my money transferred to the my Rhinebeck account, because I don't know. I'm watching the trade towers come down. Hey, something they never talk about, all those military guys. Remember somebody whacked the Pentagon? Yeah, I remember that one too. So I don't know if there's going to be a nuclear explosion on one of the rotted power plants on the Hudson River, Indian Point. So if that happens, I want to get out of here. So I want to get my money, Gerald Celente's GC's 3Gs, guns, gold, and a getaway plan. I'm going to head to Canada, 4.5 hours away from here. From Canada, I could go anywhere. So they say to me before I give them my wire transfer information, Mr. Celente, certificates of deposit are financial instruments, and Wall Street is closed. You can't get your money. 3 strikes, you're out. I got 3 strikes against me. They wouldn't give me my money on 9/11. HSBC Slimers wouldn't give me my money. The key bank lowlifes.
And Corzine grabbed your money, so that's 4 strikes. Stay there. We're going to come back and talk about the big picture, the hell of a cashless robo-apocalypse when everything is digital, the mark of the beast with Gerald Celente. One of the big signposts of living in a hardcore tyranny is capital controls. And the TSA now admits that's going to be part of their job. They claim if the IRS has an investigation going on you, not an indictment, not a criminal investigation, just has your name in a file, you won't be able to fly out of the country. Now they're talking about if you haven't had vaccines, you can't fly. It's all outside of law. And the New York Times comes out and says, yeah, they take old ladies' money with no criminal records, and even after tax money, the IRS just takes their accounts. Tens of thousands of people a year. And now the feds are giving speeches. Assistant Attorney General Leslie Cadwell gave a speech in which she urged banks to alert law enforcement authorities about a problem. This is a quote, so that police can, quote, seize the funds or at least initiate an investigation. So the cops pull you over and just grab the money out of your car, and then the feds get 20% of it, locals get 80%. That's federalization. As Black highlights, according to the handbook for the Federal Financial Institution Examination Council, such suspicious activity includes transactions conducted or attempted by at the bank or an affiliate and aggregating 5,000 or more. People think it's still 10, so they get under that like they're trying to hide when you're doing nothing wrong. You'd be insane not to have 5-10% of your cash, in a safe or something. Black provides a chilling scenario under which an attempt to withdraw your own money from your bank account could end with a home visit from the cops. And then they go through it, how they're doing it. And again, under asset forfeiture, seizure, and the drug laws, you see the cases where the cops pull you over. It's usually really corrupt jurisdictions that fully do this. And it'll be an old lady, and they'll say, "What's in your purse?" And they'll see $2,000, knowing old ladies carry a lot of cash because they're smart from the Depression. And they'll just take it. So if you don't like it, you'll see the judge. The judge will say, "We're going to test that, ma'am. This has come out on the news hundreds of times. We find any drug residue, we're going to take your car and indict you. Because the federal law says we can," which it really doesn't, but they misinterpret and have kept juries that'll do it. And a lot of times they say, "Okay, go ahead and do it." Then they'll test the money. And, of course, almost all money has some drug residues on it. And they'll say, "All right, we're indicting you. My cousins are all on the jury." And that's what goes on from upstate New York to East Texas. And those are the bad cops. And the feds wrote it all. They did it all. It is beyond Boss Hogg and Roscoe Pico train. Those are angels compared to this. And then the big banks, pull up Bloomberg, $378 billion. Wells Fargo, Wachovia, laundered drug money. Didn't even get in trouble from 2005 to 2008 when they got, quote, caught. I mean, they were leasing and running the drug aircraft. You know, the cops will be out here looking for drugs on the street when the big banks are laundering the money by the trillions every decade. $500 billion a year in drug money in the U.S. alone. Our troops load it on the C-130s and fly it here. When they couldn't hide it anymore, they just put it on the news. Going back to Gerald Celente, this is about social control. Whether people believe in the Bible or not, it's the same thing, where everything's tracked, everything's traced, everything's looked at by the NSA, all these other agencies. They follow everything you do. They built back doors into everything, letting the hackers get into the back doors and create all the financial crises we see, with credit cards getting canceled every few weeks now and debit cards. So cashless is a disaster. And then if we want to have cash, because it's fun to give somebody a tip in cash or fun to, give bonuses in cash at Christmas, I'm supposedly dirty to take after-tax money and give it to people. I mean, this is so sick. We live in a prison in this country. It's like Forbes saying the war on lemonade stands. They don't want barter. They don't want grassroots. What's really behind it, Gerald Celente?
I believe that this latest issue about notifying the police with withdrawals is fear of a banking crisis. And that's why I was relating to what has happened to me in the past. They cannot afford to run on the banks because there is no dough in the banks to really cover this. You look what happened, Alex, at the end of 2014, when all of a sudden, Jamie Legs Diamond over there from the J.P. Morgan Chase gang actually gave Congress the language to put in about credit default swaps to be part of the balance sheet in banks. So essentially, all these trillions in derivatives and credit default swaps that the banks are gambling with, now they're covered by supposedly FDIC. And then you add on top of that the legislation with the bail-ins that allows the banks to grab your dough if it can't be covered by insurance. I believe that this is being done to dissuade people from taking their money out of banks and to penalize them when they do. Because I believe there's going, and it's not only me, it's Dr. Paul Craig Roberts.
Well, we've seen the bail-ins in Cyprus and other areas. This is the globalist model everywhere else they've been. I mean, Obama's talking about tax increases by executive order, totally illegal. They're talking about grabbing education funds, calling them trust funds. I mean, they are really gearing up, Gerald.
Exactly. And again, you look at David Stockman's work, all of us. We're all saying that this Ponzi scheme is going to collapse. You see what happens, Alex, even when they hint about raising interest rates. The market goes into panic because the low interest rates have allowed this Ponzi scheme to continue to go. And now they're doing it, of course, over in Europe with their quantitative easing, and over there, it's one country after another. So what we're saying is this is going to collapse. When it collapses, there's going to be panic. When there's panic, people will go to the banks.
That's right.
When they go to the banks, they're going to get nothing.
Well, it's clear that we've got a lot of special interests that are out of control, and I've studied history. Elites always think they're invincible. The white shoe boys that you call them, the Harvard gang, there's no way they're going to get away with this. I mean, they're even training, Gerald, to have the military take over domestically, as you know, and admitting it. But the military is getting screwed over worse than anybody. I mean, who would have the nerve to put even young men and women with treatable diseases on do not treat list at the VA? I mean, they are. Our government is so illegitimate, Gerald. Where do you see all this going? I mean, Washington is so blackmailed. Congress, wouldn't even stop the FCC grabbing the internet. They're just, Obama's dissolved the borders. They're about to sign the Pacific Partnership in secret. I mean, we are living in just a crazy time. Where is it all going?
Again, we're looking at a collapse. And it's not only in the United States. Look what's going on around the world. Whether it's the Podemos party in Spain, whether it's UKIP in the UK, Le Pen's party got, 25% of the vote? You're going to start seeing more and more revolution take place. The people have had it. You know the numbers. What is it, 1%, according to Oxfam, is going to control 99% of all the money next year?
But, I mean, how can the elites then know that there's a class war against the middle class going on by the elite and then try to sick the giant underclass on the middle class and start a race war? That dog's not hunting. Clearly the Democrats and George Soros, well, they admit it's been released, are spending hundreds of millions total and putting up fake stickers in Austin saying white only to get us all fighting with each other and divide and conquer, Gerald. I don't see Washington's balkanization plan working.
Well, it's not going to, and it's going to be chaos and more mayhem. There's absolutely no question about it. You even have guys like this Paul Tudor Jones, one of the, some name like that. They always have these very important names like Tudor. And he's coming out, big hedge fund guy, warning about what's going to happen with the middle class dissolving.
And you know what Tudor means? That's British royalty, a British house that fell hundreds of years ago. But exactly, you look at the elite in our country, people always obsess over their ethnicity. A lot of them are connected to British royalty. And then you see our tabloids worshiping British royalty. It's like a Twilight Zone episode, Gerald.
It is. And it's exactly, look, Alex, the fish rots from the head down. It's a truism. We have become a murderous criminal class run by two mafias. I should say the Bloods and the Crips, the Democrats and Republicans. How many more people do they have to murder in the name of freedom and democracy? And how much more of our money do they have to steal in the name of too big to fail?
And they've maneuvered us into total bankruptcy. They're trying to hurt the dollar long term. What do you think their exit strategy is? I mean, do they have a method to their madness? Because I see the London Guardian and others reporting on what we've said forever. They're building secret underground bunkers and castles in the Ozarks. They're building landing strips in New Zealand in the middle of nowhere and putting in guard houses with up to 20 armed, mercenaries that they give endowments to live with them for life. I mean, the elite have been really good at screwing everybody over, but now they're going to have to live in armored fortresses. That's the scariest part for me, is that the elite are digging in, Gerald.
They don't have a clue what to do. It's out of their control. It's out of control. It is spun out of control. Look, tell me one victory in any field, whether it's military, not since World War II, with the exception, of course, of Grenada and Panama, healthcare, education, environment, everything they touch, they turn to failure.
But they've been good at robbing us. They've been good at robbing us, making us sick and dumb, and destroying the middle class.
They have destroyed the middle class. It's in front of us. The numbers, again, don't lie. You have a gap between the rich and the poor that, according to the Pew Research Center, is back to the Gilded Age days and even worse. The middle class is shot in this country. We don't even have a day of rest anymore.
Rome, in its most corrupt years, the 200s and 300s, had a bigger middle class than we have.
Yeah. So it has collapsed. And again, going back to this banking issue, I really believe it's there to dissuade people to try to get their money out And by the way, that's why I believe in gold. And again, guns, gold, and a getaway.
Hey, even if it goes up or down, doesn't matter. At least you got something buried on the back 40 and everything goes to hell. Everybody knows gold and silver has value.
Well, think of it like this. You're getting negative interest rates over in Europe. You put your money in the bank, they're going to charge you to keep it there 0.25%. Take out a German bond, a Danish, Austrian, a whole bunch of them, a 5-year bond. You're going to pay this much for it, and you're going to get that much back. You're going to get less back, negative yields. Why would anybody in their right mind buy a German, Austrian, Danish bond that they know they're going to get paid less at maturity? Do you think that gold prices are going to be lower than they are now in 5 years?
No, they can't keep it upside down forever. It is just wild. And I was reading different European countries, they make you pay interest to keep your money in a bank. So it's the opposite, inverse of reality.
Exactly, and it goes back to what you were saying about why they're sicking the cops on us. And by the way, the police in this country have become nothing more than enforcers for the crime bosses. You mentioned about all those scandals in the banks. You didn't see one head roll. And it's the same thing when you go down to the lower levels of the police. They commit these heinous crimes, nobody's head rolls. So they take care of each other. You protect me, I'll take care of you. And that's what it's become. They've become enforcers for the Democratic and Republican crime bosses. Have you seen there's not one major bank, and I love the language they use. They committed a misdeed. No, we misspoke. No, we misled. How about grand larceny? Never do you hear that. And not one major conviction under that Eric Holder, who was the so-called Attorney General and still tries to play the role, during the Obama administration, who as the man of change and hope you can believe in, campaigned or lied about how Wall Street was going to pay the price for their criminality. So the police in this country have become enforcers for the crime bosses.
That's right. With HSBC and others, they can launder hundreds of billions, and then they pay $111 million in the case of Wells Fargo on $300+ billion, and then HSBC was a bigger fine, 1.9, but only because it was Swiss. But that's still a small fraction of what they've done. Meanwhile, old ladies who run tiny little Mexican food restaurants, who are citizens and things, it's in the New York Times, goes every day and deposits the cash. That's their total earnings in a cash, and then they put it in the bank, and they seize it, saying it's criminal because she put it in the bank. I mean, it's just rape everyone. It's just rape the little guy, Gerald.
Again, the fish rots from the head down. You have immorality being brought to the top by Washington. And so the people are behaving as their leaders
Well,
do.
Gerald, I agree with you that the police in many jurisdictions are out of control, but they have indicted, the cop in Albuquerque that, said, I'm going to kill the homeless guy, and did. I do see a lot of departments. It's a dichotomy.
It's minor compared to how they bust our chops all the time.
No, I get it. Especially, I've been up there in the East. They're really arrogant. But expanding on this, all I'm saying is, what's the master plan then? You've been a big political advisor and consultant. Why is Soros funding riots against the police? Are they trying to get a class war going?
Yeah, they have a class war going. A class war and a racial war keep being initiated by the governments and by these crazy people. Again, you look at what's going on in this country. Look how many of these young kids are growing up with no parents, whacked out on drugs. There's no job futures. How about all those college students that graduate with what? $40, $50, $60, $70,000, $100,000 worth of debt? And they got a degree in art history? I mean, come on.
Let me ask you this question. The arrogance of government does roll downhill. And so I'm guessing, have you had police get in your face or be rude, and what do you say to them when they do?
What's that?
Have you had the police treat you like garbage, and what do you say when they do?
You know, I've had the police treat me in lousy ways, rolling through a stop sign and then being nasty about it. Happened over here about a year ago. Yeah, most of them, the local police, I have to tell you, in Kingston, they don't break anybody's chops because they have real problems in a couple of bad neighborhoods, and they concentrate on that. And they have a police chief and a mayor that really makes it that.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, Gerald, is the media is creating the perception that the police are out of control, and they certainly are at many levels, and the system lets them do it. But they're trying to create a bigger perception to blame everything on the police instead of the political elite. What I'm saying is we need to blame the political elite that set this up.
But again, you know, I mentioned about the local police. Then there's the state troopers. Man, I mean, you know, you can't go out and have a drink, you know, without them, you know, walk the line, do this, bend over, bow down. No, it's out of line.
Well, it didn't used to happen in America. It's definitely not freedom.
No.
Gerald Celente, I want to hit geopolitical issues with you straight ahead. And I want to tell folks about your new TrendsJournal. I've also got one of your journals from years ago where you predicted a bunch of this, and I wanted to read those quotes. Gerald Celente is our guest. You'll definitely want to stay with us for the conclusion of the transmission. TrendsResearch.com. Go there, get the Trends Research Journal. We're back live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. One reason we're seeing the tyranny expand so fast is that people are waking up. There's a lot of good news happening every day as well. Monsanto hit with fine for genetically contaminating wheat supply. Monsanto chief admits hubris is to blame for public fears over GM. No, we've read the studies. Robots to replace half of jobs over the next 20 years. Apple's Wozniak warns that AI is being designed to basically take over. Now algorithms are deciding whom to hire based on voice. Why are the elites trying to build a world that isn't based on humans? I mean, I know they believe they're going to merge with machines and be gods. It just sounds like more delusional craziness out of the elites. Where do you in the long term see humanity going? Do you have a good prognosis, Gerald Celente?
Well, if it keeps going in the direction it is, there's no question about it. You know, we're dumbing down at great levels. You know, artificial intelligence, right? Yeah, artificial intelligence is as great as artificial flavors or artificial coloring and artificial food. And that's where it's going.
Gerald, looking at the entire planet right now, what do you think the next big hotspot is?
Well, I believe it's going to be the Middle East and Ukraine. You saw Congress came out recently and voted a resolution. What was it, about 300 something? Hello?
Yes, Gerald, can you hear us talking?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you just paused and you're saying hello. Are you hearing any audio come across?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, good. You're just pausing when I'm letting you talk. And so I'm just wondering, are you hearing anything?
Yeah, I hear you fine. The hot spots, Alex, I believe are going to be Ukraine and the Middle East. You just saw a resolution passed in Congress to arm Ukraine, Western Ukraine, Kiev, with lethal weapons. Great. That'll make things really nice.
Well, Gerald, what can we do from your historical research to try to stop this?
We need a new third party, as I see it. It just can't go on like this. I don't care who's going to lead either party. They're too corrupt. They're too in bed with the special interests. Let's stop calling it the House of Representatives. The only ones they represent are the people that give them money. And the people that give them the most money are the drug companies, the communications industry, the military industrial and cyber industrial complex.
What about voting with our dollars? You always talk about creating local communities, farmers markets, supporting local shops. Isn't the model of us wrecking the globalist Monsanto and McDonald's, profits plunging, isn't voting with our dollars really the best revolutionary thing we've got right now?
Right now it is, but it's at a smaller level, and it's going to take a lot of time. It has to start from the community. But Alex, we're going into the 2016 elections, and it's going to be one party or another. And as you're looking at it now, it's not even a two-party system. It's a two-family system. I mean, you know how many times I'm sick of hearing about Jeb Bush or Hillary Clinton?
What a joke.
What a joke.
That shows how out of touch the political class is to think that we would support either one of those people.
Exactly. And they're being shoved down our throat. Could you look at the dignity of the White House, how low it has sunk? Could you imagine Dwight D. Eisenhower yucking it up with this Kimmel character or another one?
It's all a complete joke. All they give us is hype instead of a prosperity. We're going to end the main transmission, but do some overdrive with Gerald Celente, Infowars.com/show. God bless you all. Great job, crew. I'm going to be in California at CalJam, and I think almost all the tickets are sold out, but you can still sign up to watch it on streams at caljam.com. There's links on Infowars.com, but I'd like to just hear on air when David Knight's sitting in doing a fabulous job Friday, Sunday, or Monday. I'll be calling in as well and probably doing some Skype reports. So I'll be on the show some as well, at least Sunday and Monday. But I'd like to invite Gerald on about trends and his new trends research, if he can do it Friday or a Monday. But we'll see. Just so much to talk about with Gerald Celente. We should also have him back on just to open the phones up so you can call in with your wild card points. Gerald, I've been asking most of the questions myself, but the criminality is accelerating. I think the establishment is just desperate and doesn't know what to do. I don't see it working, but I see CENTCOM and others, declaring war on Russia this week, saying we're now in a war with Russia and sending in, brigades of armor and announcing that they're in cyber war with them. Even during the Cold War and in the Cuban Missile Crisis, there wasn't rhetoric like this. I mean, I really see behavior out of elites that shows that they really are. Used to, we at least had generals and presidents that had been in heavy combat, like JFK or Dwight D. Eisenhower. They weren't perfect, but, they understood that they weren't bulletproof. I just think the white shoe boys you talk about are so insulated. They think they're, what doesn't stink. And I see historically the type of chutzpah that destroys civilizations. I don't know if we're going to make it because of these people, Gerald.
Well, again, that's what I was saying. We need a new way. Well, look at the people. Who are we talking about? Let's put faces and names together. Lloyd Blank Fine. How about Blank Face? Pelosi, not so Feinstein, McConnell, Reid, little Lindsey Graham. How can any self-respecting person look up to these people? Obama, one lie. Hey, great job. Hey, remember that speech you gave about our strategic alliances with Yemen and how our security and intelligence are doing so great? Yeah, happy days in Yemen. Oh, you forget this one? We're going to be out of there by an Afghanistan before you know it. Oh, you're changing the tune. Look at the people. You want some arrogance? Hey, how about Hillary Clinton? Hey, bring back Dick Cheney. Let's hear a liar again. Put him out on the media. Look at this guy, this General Scales. Yeah, rotted fish scales that is saying on Fox that we need to kill some more Russians over there in Ukraine and send them over in body bags so that Putin will get the message. Why put a nut like this
No
on
president
television?
ever talked like that. That is literal thug gangster talk. That's what I mean. These people are crazy.
They're crazy. And no one wants to call them what they are. Instead, they call them congressman, senator, and president.
Well, no one. Imagine Ronald Reagan saying, we need to send a bunch of dead Russians over there. That'll teach them. That would have started a nuclear war. And the Russians aren't perfect, but, they are freaking out, getting ready for war. They're scared. Putin stays in a bunker most of the time. This is dangerous, folks.
Everyone that has followed the Ukraine crisis from the beginning knows who started it. Victoria Nuland, the Assistant Secretary of State.
But she's a feminist, so it's okay. If she destroys the planet, it's okay.
That's different, of course. If only the women were in charge. Yeah, like that Samantha Powers and Susan Rice and Hillary Clinton that started the Libyan war. Oh, yeah, peace on earth. Oh, and what's her name's over there? Samantha Powers? She's over there in Brussels 2 weeks ago saying that NATO's not putting enough money into defense. So when you look who started the Ukraine war, whether you like Yanukovych or not, the United States engineered the overthrow of a democratically elected government and installed a puppet Poroshenko. You look what's going on.
Oh, we've totally lost the moral high ground. We've got to remove the criminals. Gerald Celente, Trends Research, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to Gerald Celente very, very soon.
And don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this.
I'm just sick of dishonorable trash.
Supreme Cobra Commander!
You're failures! You think I'd sell my family out like you, dirtbag?
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com and to help others during Christmas by teaching them about the powerful benefits of silver. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.